The nationalist movement among the Kurds first emerged in the late 19th century, with an uprising led by Kurdish landowner and head of powerful Shemdina family, Sheikh Yebindullah. In 1880, Yebindullah demanded political autonomy, or outright independence for the Kurds, and the recognition of a Kurdistan state separate from both the Ottoman Empire and Qadardis Persia. The uprising was suppressed by the Ottomans, of course. The first Kurds to challenge the authority of the Ottoman Empire did so primarily as Ottoman subjects, rather than Kurds. They worked with fellow Turks and Ottoman subjects who were in opposition to the policies of Sultan Abdullah Hamid, and in 1889 formed the Committee of Union and Progress, or CUP. Abdullah Hamid responded with a policy of repression, but also integration, co-opting prominent Kurdish opponents into the Ottoman power structure with prestigious positions in his government. This strategy appeared successful given the loyalty displayed by the Kurdish Hadamir regiment during World War I. Hadamir literally means belonging to Hamid. In the first decades of the 20th century, Kurdish nationalism was still ambiguous, controversial, or just an unfamiliar concept for many Kurds. Educated Kurds, primarily from Istanbul, sought a political solution largely within the confines of the Ottoman Empire, and one that did not rest solely on an ethnic basis. That kind of identity was related more with a tribal consciousness, one that lacked sophistication for many. Others had much to lose if the status quo was altered. For many, this stemmed from a religious concern, where the Sultan had long brought the Muslims under a secure caliphate. Others, particularly tribal chieftains, had economic concerns. Still, other Kurds, especially outside of Anatolia, lacked a understanding of nationalism or were just simply unaware and unaffected. An organization known as the Kurdistan Taliyat Gamayat, or the Society for the Advancement of Kurdistan, or SAK or SAK, was central to the forging of a distinct Kurdish identity. It took advantage of the period of political liberalization during the second constitutional era from 1908 to 1920 of Turkey to transform a renewed interest into Kurdish culture and language into a political nationalist movement based on ethnicity. The emphasis of the Kurdish people as a distinct ethnic group was encouraged around the start of the 20th century by Russian anthropologists who suggested that the Kurds were a European race compared to the Asiatic Turks, based on physical characteristics and their language, which was part of the Indo-European language group. Based more on this ethno-nationalistic standpoint, two prominent Kurdish families, the Barat Khans and the Sayyids, renewed an opposition to the empire. These clans founded the first two strains of Kurdish nationalism. The Barat Khans were successionists, while the Sayyids of Nadi were autonomous. The Sayyids of Nadi, operating within the autonomous framework, Sheikh Abdullah al-Qadir in 1910 appealed to the Committee of Union and Progress, which after 1908 Young Turk Revolution now held the power in the government after disposing Sultan Abdullah al-Hamid, for an autonomous Kurdish state in the east. That same year, Sayyid Nasari traveled throughout the Diyarbakir region and urged Kurds to unite and forget their differences, while still carefully claiming their loyalty to Kap. Other Kurdish sheikhs in the region began leaning towards regional autonomy. The Badat Khans. During this time, the Badat Khans had been in contact with discontented sheikhs and chieftains in the far east of Anatolia, ranging to the Iranian border, more in the framework of secession however. Sheikh Abd al-Riza Badat Khan eventually formed an alliance with Sheikh Taha and Sheikh Abd al-Salam Banzani, another powerful family in Kurdistan. Because of this possible Kurdish threat as well as the alliance dealings with Russia, the Ottoman troops moved in against this alliance in 1914. The rebellions of Banzan and Bislis were quickly suppressed, of course. The problem with these early Kurdish rebels was one of coordination. The British Vice Consul in Bislis reported that, could the Kurds combine against the government even in one province, the Turkish troops in the eastern part of Asia Minor would find it difficult to crush the revolt. The outbreak of World War I was a powerful check to the growing Kurdish nationalism. However, some Kurds continued to work behind the scenes for an independent Kurdistan. These represent some of the first attempts by Kurds to work with foreign powers against the Turks for their autonomy. In 1914, General Muhammad Sharif Pasha offered his services to the British in Mesopotamia. Elsewhere, members of the Barat Khan family held close relations with Russian officials and discussed their intentions to form an independent Kurdistan. Meanwhile, the conflict between the Kurds and Armenians in the east raged. Kurds were threatened with punishment by Ottoman authorities if they did not obey orders to evict or kill Armenians. In rare instances, the Kurds spared their Christian victims and protected them because they were neighbors with whom they had cordial relations with. It was difficult to accept that the struggle was a purely ethnic one. Kurds contributed significantly to the Ottoman war effort. Tribal forces served against the Russian army in Persia and Turkey. Kurdish battle casualties are estimated at 300,000. However, the effects of war on the Kurdish population and populated areas was far more severe. Many regions throughout Kurdistan were laid to waste and their populations were decimated by advancing and retreating troop forces. Furthermore, as the war continued, the Young Turks implemented large-scale ethnic cleansing on both the Armenians and the Kurds, including the deportation of Kurds from Erzurum and Buslis in the winter of 1916. By the end of World War I, up to 700,000 Kurds had been forcibly deported, and almost half of those displaced people perished. Nevertheless, the Ottoman Kurds still had the legal right to conduct their affairs in Kurdish, celebrate unique traditions, and identify themselves as a distinct ethnic group. The end of the Ottoman Empire brought about a lot of change to the Middle East, the groupings making into one nation, and some distinct people having no nation at all. The Kurds after World War I. The Kurdish ethno-nationalistic movement that emerged following World War I and the end of the Ottoman Empire was largely in reaction to the changes taking place in mainstream Turkey, primarily radical secularization which the strongly Muslim Kurds abhorred, centralization of authority which threatened the power of local chieftains and Kurdish autonomy, and the rampant Turkish nationalism of the new Turkish Republic, which obviously threatened to marginalize them as a ethnic group or Mountain Turks. In 1918, the prominent Kurdish nationalist Sheikh Pasha pressed the British to adopt the policy supporting autonomous Kurdish regions throughout Kurdistan. He suggested that the British officials be in charge of appointing officials to administer the region and control their finances. Strategically, the desired movement towards this plan was to be made before the end of the war and the Paris Peace Conference. Sharif was not able to convince the British of this, however, his efforts to plead the cause to his people leading to the Paris Peace Conference impressed the Western powers, or the victorious powers, because there's Romanian other such. Because of his friendship with the Armenians, and after he was chosen to represent the Kurds by various Kurdish nationalist organizations at the Paris Peace Conference, a Kurdo-Armenian peace accord was reached between Sharif and Armenian representatives at the conference in 1919. The British persuaded the Kurdish and the Armenian representatives to sign this Kurdish-Armenian Declaration of Solidarity against the Kemalists for strategic reasons. The British thought that this would increase the likelihood of independent Kurdish and Armenian states that would create a buffer between the British Mesopotamia and the Turks. The first opportunity for the Kurds to establish an independent country came with the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and the end of World War I, of course. In his 14-point program for world peace, the US President Woodrow Wilson included the statement that non-Turkish minorities of the Ottoman Empire should be assured of an absolute unmolested opportunity for autonomous development. Aside from the supporters of such sentiments such as the US, Britain and France, and of course, the Kurds, there were other aspects to consider. These include the operational breakup of the Ottoman Empire, the Sykes-Picot Agreement, the Kemalist movement, which called them Mountain Turks, Russia's territorial ambitions in the region, Tsarist Russia and Soviet Russia, especially with the nationalists and the communists in all of these regions, especially Afghanistan in 1979, but the status of the Christian Armenian population in and around Kurdistan so the Armenians could get their own nation, and Britain's and France and Italy's and all the colonial possessions to preserve stability in and around its colonial possessions. And sorry I said possessions twice, but I had to work with something. And these are just a few reasons why Kurdistan does not exist. Sykes-Picot, dividing the Middle East. The Kemalist movement, labeling them nothing more than Mountain Turks. Russia's territorial ambitions to spread the Tsarist dream or the Soviet communist dream. The status of the Christian Armenian population, which suffered genocide by the Kurds, even though the Kurds really didn't have a choice in the matter. It was them or us, but it was them or us. And Britain's territorial and imperial ambitions in the region, and to preserve its possessions until 1945. Now, this is where we finished the video. Alright, so this is where I kind of finished the video. I'm doing this the third time now, but we'll go over a couple of things that led to the PPK, the UGK, and the Peshmerga, and why Kurdistan is actually the most viable and actually the most possible country to actually come into existence, even though it was a self-autonomous region in all of these countries connected kind of together. But the Treaty of Severus was actually supposed to promise Armenia and Kurdistan their own separate states, but because of Turkey and the Kemalist movement and actually driving out all the imperial powers, Kurdistan had to be put on hold And also, they had to consider that what if the Iraqis from Mosul didn't want to be from the Iraqi, didn't want to associate with the Iraqis from Baghdad. So it was like, if we allowed these secessionists to actually get their own country, well, there could be other countries in our own countries and oil, oil, oil. There was the Khogalali rebellion, which was actually a result of the Kurds not receiving their own country and was organized by the Dismir region, which increasingly had a successful tribal organization from the autonomous Kurdistan to actually attack the Kemalists. And that kind of failed in Turkey. So that's the Turkish side. Severus and Khogalali are actually Severus and Khogalali are actually the Turkish part of the Kurdistan. But now we look at Iraq, where though they had a bit more stability, especially in Baghdad in 1917, the British pretty much conquered the region and pretty much put Mosul, Baghdad, and some other province, third province, but this is a speed run, this is not the actual list here, but they pretty much put three kingdoms together into Iraq, what we call modern day Iraq, and pretty much kind of messed up the whole vibe in Mesopotamia. And the last one, Syria. Sorry, I'm not doing this with a lot of actual research and thing, but I'm just trying to give you an idea why the Kurds actually have the PPK, the UAGK, and the Peshmerga. So pretty much during the conflict between the Kemalists and the Kurds in the Turkish War of Independence, the Kurds actually fled to Syria from Turkey to escape oppression, and that's where you actually get the Syrian part, because mostly they were in Mesopotamia and Turkey, but they fled to Syria. Even though there were some communities, the actual community up to this day was actually built around the fleeing from the Kemalists. So that's how you get Syrian Kurds. So after that, it was Sheikh Mahmud and his rebellions, the air scheme, which is actually a very interesting thing, but is in the 1920s, I'm sorry, and Persia, yes, and the Treaty of Louisiana. All are good subjects, maybe not for another day, but you know, they're pretty good. Anyway, sorry for the little ramble, but the video is kind of over, sorry. But as the video comes to an end, I just want to say thanks for 10k, well, almost 10k views, not subscribers, because then I might have over a million. But even just 10k people coming in and out, watching every other day, kind of means a lot to me. And sometimes the YouTube dream could be, why am I still at under 100 subscribers? But 10k views, man, 10k views. I might do something special for 10k views. I don't know what you guys want. Montage, special video dedicated to a country, probably Barbados. Now that'll be kind of restrictive, so something that everyone can enjoy. Leaning towards montage, or let's vote on something that you want to see. If we get 10k, will be a montage. Nazis that you want to see besides the obvious ones like Hitler, Human Göring, Rudolf Hess, Adolf Eichmann, and Adolf Müller, and other stuff like that. I said Heinrich Müller. Sorry, I forget his name. Simon Whistler did a biographics on him. Simon Whistler is a big meme, but I adore him. 10 bloody channels. My god, Simon. My god. And we'll do something else, like montage, top 5 Nazis, underrated Nazis that you want to see. Even the one that did the good in China, the only actual Nazi that was praised during that time. And I don't know what else you want to see. Hopefully I'm still recording, please God. Yes, please, thank you. Yeah, I'm recording. This would be the end. From the Treaty of Severus to right here is just the end. Sorry for the rambling, but still, thanks for the 10k, and hope you made it this far. Anyway, thanks again, and learn something, my dudes and dudettes. God bless. So, montage. We got top 5 Nazis that you might want to see during World War II, and something else, I don't know. Maybe a revolutionary concept that I've been working on, called Treated Fairly or Not. Who knows? Learn something.